just filming a little video about how petrol and nitro RC cars are bloody good for children. Well, they're bloody good for everybody, to be fair. But they're bloody good for children because it teaches them mechanical knowledge, and it teaches them a bit of patience, a bit of discipline, how to actually, get through daily life. And that gets me wondering. I reckon things like nitro RC, and I mean nitro RC, and petrols, but I think stuff like that should be taught in school. I really think things like that should be taught in school. I think they're missing a bloody trick there, I mean, I know they do, some schools do mechanics and things like that, but it probably costs them quite a lot of money to get all the tools and everything you need to be able to do proper mechanics, like for cars. You've got to get scrap engines and tools and benches and lifts and all kinds of things. Some schools do have it. Some schools have a proper mechanic workshop with a lift for it. They get a car in and they go through stripping the car down, how to change ball joints, brake pads, engines, servicing, pistons. Some of them actually take the engines out and strip them down and everything, and then rebuild them and then get them running again. Some schools do, but I think every school would be able to get a few nitro cars, or even some petrol RC cars like these. But nitro would be better. I think they'd be able to get them no trouble, and they wouldn't have to adapt any classrooms, because they could just do it in the design and technology room, where you've got tools anyway. You've got drills and you've got all that kind of stuff, soldering irons a lot in them kind of rooms. Or even in the science lab, but probably not. It's not best suited to science, is it? It's best suited to DT, design and technology. That's more of a mechanical subject and a mechanical room already. I reckon, maybe not every kid's going to want to learn that kind of stuff, but it would help them out a great deal. They'd learn about engines, they'd learn so much stuff that would help them get through just life in general, and help them to save a lot of money. I mean, in the video that I made about these cars and the way that they can help children, I think parents should definitely buy their children nitro cars just to play around with and to get to know, because you can tell, as I keep saying it over and over again, because it's the fact. There's so much to learn. I mean, they can teach electrics, they can teach... Not only do they teach electrics because of all the servos and the receivers, they also teach radio, how radios work, and learn about the engines and all sorts. And you can have fun with it as well. They could take them out on the school field, have some fun, learn physics. With the, you put the brakes on, it goes forward, rev it up, it goes that way. If you turn, it's all physics. I mean, there's so many things that I think they could implement a nitro car in schools, and we all know they can be a little bit finicky sometimes if you don't know what you're doing and they won't start up. Well, there you go. That's another topic to teach. Okay? Today, children, the car won't start. Or maybe that's not the plan of the lesson. The plan of the lesson is to start it up and do something else, but it won't start. So now the lesson has gone a different turn. Let's diagnose why it won't start. Children, can you do that? Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I think if I was the head teacher of a school, it would be the coolest school, man. There'd be RC cars, there'd be radios, CB radios and things like that. They'd be learning about all radio waves, all that kind of stuff, because a lot of people probably say, oh, that's outdated technology, nobody needs to learn about that these days. But how do you think Bluetooth works? How do you think your mobile phone works? How do you think your sat-nav works? Your car telemetry, all that stuff is radio waves. Wi-Fi is radio waves. 5G, 4G, radio waves. It's just a different frequency, but it's radio waves. So it's all modern, it's all modern. It's all stuff that is still used today, just not on the 27 megs band, on the 11 meter band as much, but it's different bands. Radio waves, radio is still used every day on loads of things, more and more things in fact. Obviously the trouble with being a head teacher is you've got to follow the curriculum. I think the curriculum's set by some stupid school place, I don't know, where they might be the government, I don't know what it is, probably the Ofcom of schools, who knows. Obviously there's set topics that they have to teach. Obviously maths and English and history and science and all of them are quite important, but you can add, well, at least I think you can add lessons on, topics on. And I'd have, like I say, I mean, I'd have things like these because they can teach so much to children. I'd have radios. It's just, there's so many things that I think I'd have. I'd have push bike lessons, how to mend your bike. It doesn't matter about riding it. Some schools, they have lessons on riding a bicycle in the road, which is a stupid idea. Why would you want to influence children to ride a bicycle in the bloody road? Absolutely not. It's ridiculous. It's like giving them a blooming pass to death these days. Alright, years ago, 30, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, when there wasn't very many cars on the road, and the ones that were on the road, the drivers actually cared. These days, drivers don't care about anybody apart from themselves. So, particularly cyclists for some reason. So why would you want to teach your children to ride a bicycle in the road? It's ridiculous. But I'd have lessons on how to maintain a bike, all the things you need to do to maintain a bike and things like that. And I think I'll definitely push to be able to have an actual mechanic, like workshop for cars, real cars, because learning to maintain your own car is stupendously important. As I've said it, if you're a subscriber to this channel and the other channel, you would have seen me talking about how important it is to learn at a young age to maintain your own car, because you can save yourself a lot of money. But you can, just to change your own oil. 3,000 miles comes along, or 6 months. Nip out there on a Sunday afternoon, go down the shop, get yourself a bottle of oil and a filter. All you need is a spanner. Might need a bit of a thing to get your oil filter off, and a thing. I've made my drain pan out of this can here. Just cut a thing in it. You don't need to go and buy one. Make one. And it takes you 10 or 15 minutes. Depends if you've got to take a belly pan off or not. Couple of bolts, belly pan comes off if that's the case. Warm the engine up, drop the oil out. While that's still dripping, take the filter off, put a new filter in. Obviously fill it up first if you can. Excuse me. Put the drain plug back in, fill it up with oil, check the level, run it up, that kind of stuff. Takes you 10 or 15, maybe 20 minutes to do your oil change. Whereas if you go to a garage, they're going to charge you a couple of £100 in dealers. If you go to an ordinary, like an independent garage, you might be 50 quid if you're lucky. They might charge you 50 quid. Well, that's on top of the oil, so it probably end up being more like 70 or 80 quid, but you know what I mean. So it's incredibly important to be able to service and maintain your own car, just for your own wealth and well-being. The amount of money people waste on getting other people to do stuff what they could do if they just would learn how. And I genuinely think if us as adults paid more attention to what we teach our children, they're going to be better off in the future, man. They would be. I mean, I was fortunate. I got taught mechanical stuff as a kid from my dad. So I've always been able to maintain cars, motorbikes, anything I've had, anything mechanical, I can just mend it. Unless it requires a special tool, which is thousands and thousands of pounds, in which case it's not worth me buying that to be able to do it. So then I just go and pay someone to do that one thing which requires that one special tool. But other than that, I know people that have got A stars in every lesson. They're working in Tesco's at the moment, and they ain't got a clue how to mend anything. They spend all their money repairing cars and whatever else. It's heartbreaking. Let me know in the comments, yeah? If you was in charge of a school, what would you teach? What would you have lessons in? I'd love to know how some people's minds work. What do you... Obviously, maths, English, science is incredibly important. History is massively important to learn the history of the country, England, the UK. It's massively important to learn that kind of stuff. But some of the stuff, you might not want to learn, it might not be that important to some children. School needs to be about setting you up for for the future, which it is, but not everyone's going to have the same future. Some children are destined for a mechanical future, a hands-on future. So let me know in the comments, what would you push to have lessons as? What would you have teaching in your school if you was a headmaster or a headmistress of a secondary school? What would you do? If you've got the same ideas as me, I want to know all about it. And I also want to know where you are in the world even. Where are you in the world? And if you are of school age now, what lessons do they have in your school? Have you got one of those schools which is a bit different and teaches stuff that other schools don't? What did you have when you was in school? If you were an adult now, what did your school do? All that stuff is fascinating to me. My school had design and technology, where you learned how to solder, where you learned how to make stuff from plastic, where you learned to make stuff from wood, and obviously we had science, history, maths and English, drama. Media studies was another good one that we done. I wish I'd done a bit more of that. I should have taken that as an option. That was, you had like these big cameras, like big Daleks, and you walked them around there. They had a studio, and you had a room full of TVs and keyboards, and you rolled the credits, you typed them out, and we had to do news reports, pretend ones. Yeah, I really enjoyed doing that. Should have done more of it. So let me know, all that kind of stuff. I love to hear from you. That's all from me today. I just wanted to know I just wanted to talk to you about the schools, because I'm not going to keep going on about it, though I probably will do. But I do just think it is absolutely mad that no one seems to be teaching children mechanics these days, and parents just seem to be just letting them sit on phones, iPads, computers, TVs, watching brain rot all the time, when they could be out and about playing with something such as this, or learning even CB radios and stuff like that, not so much. I'm not so much of an advocate for that as much, but definitely things like nitro cars, learn how to mend them, fix them, build them, and go out and play with them, and then break them, and then learn how to mend them, and then play with it again and break it, Being out and about, it's far better than sitting on a bloody phone screen watching a load of brain rot made by AI. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll catch you later on, and just try to remember to enjoy life, because it's bloody well there to be enjoyed.